Welcome to our channel. On the 29th of September 1987, South Africa escalated Operation Modular, shifting from a covert spoiling mission to a full counter-offensive. The goal was to prevent FAPLA from regrouping and launching a counter-offensive later that year by eliminating all FAPLA forces east of the Cuito River before the rainy season. With 47 Brigade isolated on the southern banks of the Lomba River, it became the primary target of the South African strategy, prompting the planning of an assault. The commander of 47 Brigade attempted to cross the Lomba under heavy bombardment, suffering significant casualties as his forces struggled to build a makeshift bridge for tanks. However, South African shelling destroyed the remaining bridge, leaving his forces vulnerable to attack just 2 days later. The South African force consisted of C Squadron, Ratel 90s, and 3 mechanized infantry companies, around 400 men, supported by mortars, anti-aircraft batteries, G5 artillery, and multiple rocket launchers, MRLs, which maintained a continuous bombardment. South African observers spotted a large group of FAPLA troops and vehicles south of the Lomba, preparing to use a log pathway. The arrival of the Rattles caused the FAPLA troops to scatter, many fleeing on foot toward the crossing. With the mobile bridge no longer operational, FAPLA attempted to improvise a bridge by driving several armored cars into the river. However, in the chaos, a T-55 tank and a jeep collided, blocking the crossing. The Rattles then intensified their assault, destroying 5 FAPLA tanks and inflicting heavy casualties on the Angolan troops. But a counterattack by T-55s forced the South Africans to withdraw. At 2 p.m., the South Africans launched a second attack, with the leading Rattles targeting a battalion of FAPLA infantry fleeing on foot toward the dry riverbed. However, they encountered heavy resistance from FAPLA tanks, and one Ratel commander was killed by an artillery shell, forcing a retreat. C Squadron was dispatched to recover the damaged Ratel, destroying 2 T-55 tanks in the process. By 4 p.m., the South Africans regrouped for a final assault. By this time, FAPLA's discipline had broken down, their commander had either fled or been killed, and troops were retreating in disarray toward the crossing point. The area had become a chaotic scene of destroyed trees and burning vehicles, all under South African bombardment. The remnants of the brigade were trapped in a wide, dry river south of the Lomba, unable to move through the muddy terrain. In a brutal attack, the Rattles destroyed dozens of tanks, armored cars, and trucks, while MRLs mowed down panicked FAPLA soldiers struggling in the mud. By 5 p.m., 47 Brigade had been effectively destroyed, with over 600 FAPLA troops dead and 127 tanks, armored vehicles, and other vehicles destroyed or captured. The South Africans suffered only 1 fatality and 5 wounded. After the battle, Cuban MiG-23s bombed the battlefield to destroy abandoned equipment. However, the South Africans managed to capture millions of dollars worth of Soviet equipment, much of it brand new, including the only fully operational SAM-8 missile launcher system ever captured by the West. It was later flown to South Africa following a contentious dispute with UNITA, which had initially promised the system to the Americans. After the defeat, FAPLA began its retreat to Cuito Cuanavale on the 5th of October. The failure of Operation Soledad Octubre marked the end of Soviet dominance in the Angolan War. With Cuito Cuanavale, and possibly the entire Cuando-Cubango region, at risk of collapsing, the Angolans turned to the Cubans for help to avert disaster. Over the next 6 weeks, Cuban forces became more involved in the fighting, with MiG-23s providing air cover and Cuban detachments reinforcing key positions in Cuando-Cubango. However, a full-scale intervention was necessary to prevent the fall of Cuito Cuanavale, and by mid-November, the situation had become critical enough for Castro to consider deploying Cuban troops to the front lines. Continue watching our videos to learn more about the Angola War.